Da-da-da. There it is. Just like that. Bada bing, bada boom. We are live. Triple T number 154. 154 weeks in a row. Holy smokehouse, as Papa would say. Good to be here. My name is TJ Zeville. I like to call myself a professional problem solver, which I always follow up with, no, I don't know everything. I just have a unique way of asking questions and helping people find the solutions they are looking for. I want to do a shout out to all of the people in YouTube land. Hi, Mom. And for those of you on YouTube or visiting YouTube or plan on going to YouTube, please do me a favor. Click the subscribe button, ring the bell. If you like the video at all, please click the like. Let's send some likes on there. I'm not feeling very liked. Oh. And comments. Love them comments. Feel free to comment on your own comment and comment on other people's comments. Let's see, what else? I've got a new website up and running. So I would like some feedback on that. Feel free to check it out. And we're still working on it. Still cleaning up some verbiage and things like that. So if you see a little something, please reach out, let me know. And keep checking back because it will be changing. I also offer a free, did I say free? That's, yes, no charge to you, no strings attached, all of the above. A free 30-minute consultation, your opportunity to get a hold of me and bend my ear for 30 minutes. If you've got some challenges or things going on, I have the privilege of helping people with all sorts of stuff: depression, anxiety, phobias, PTSD, relationship challenges, money challenges. I work with athletes from beginner all the way up to the pro level. I've got some classes coming up. I've got classes specifically for restaurant servers all the way up to 3-star Michelin. Got a real estate class coming up. Got a class, what else? Sales. Regular sales. And I do have one specifically for car sales. So if you know anybody out there that sells cars and they wish they had a little better edge, have them get a hold of me. See when the next class is coming up. Other than that, I think it's time to go with the tradition we started at the beginning of the year, which is almost done now. So I'm getting close to the end. Time to introduce the tie of the week. That's right, I've had a different tie every day of the week, or every week that we've done this, I should say. What is it? What is it? What is it? What is it?
Oh, I was going to say it looks so holiday.
Well, yes, we're very close to Christmas, and I've only got I've got more than one Christmas tie, so
That's awesome.
So we got the Christmas tie, which also brings up the question. When I looked 2 Tuesdays from now, it is going to be Christmas Eve. Are we going to gather on Christmas Eve? I know a lot of people have traditions, spending time with family, going to services, all the above, and I don't want to compete with that. I don't need an answer right away, right now, but if you want to think about it and you come up with some thoughts on it, I would like to hear your thoughts on it. I got a text that Michael will not be able to join us tonight. He's got a work meeting that he can't get out of. So shout out to Michael. Appreciate your support, and we'll see him next week. Other than that, anybody got anything they would like to share from the last 7 days? Any cool stuff? ahas, epiphanies, anybody? Mark?
I just had you said you have a number that people can call in for that 30-minute phone consult.
Yes,
Could you put that number in the chat?
I will put that number in the chat.
Okay.
It's also on my website. And if I didn't mention my website URL, it is thetswb.com, thetallskinnywhiteboy.com. That's been me since way before the internet, so I don't care what you see. In fact, don't look up other definitions. Just go straight to my website. Anybody, if you're out on YouTube land or watching this recording and you're wondering how Triple T runs, the way we've been doing it for the past 153 sessions, the first hour, I've got 3 topics that I do my best to try and get through. And then the second hour, because we go 2 hours, the second hour is open mic, open platform. Anybody on the call can bring up a question or a topic, and I let anybody on the call answer first because I like to learn as well. And if I feel that there's anything else that I can add above and beyond the answers that were given, that's when I will give my 2 centavos. But other than that, if nobody else has anything to share from the last week, then I guess it's time to jump into topics. And the topics for this week are happier holidays, 1% you, and from a jack to a king. Now, there may be a few people out there that heard that and realize they've heard it somewhere else. One, you've probably, I think I did a talk on this about a year ago or so, Jack to a King, but it's also a song, great old song. But we're not on that topic yet. We're in happier holidays. And of course, the holidays are supposed to be the happy times. Yay! The problem that we're finding out, especially as agents of change and those helping people out with anxiety, depression, and all the above, is we're finding that the holidays are the extremes, I'm going to call it. The people that are happy are very, very happy. And the people that are sad are very, very sad. And this is a time to keep an eye on people, friends, family, neighbors, and go beyond, how you doing? You'll get that traditional, I'm fine. But the other part that we want to keep an eye out for is making sure that we stay in contact with them. There are some people that just don't have enough friends, tribe, whatever, resources to have things to do. And it's so easy to forget about these people, to let them slip through the cracks, to not follow up. The other thing, we just sent out our Christmas cards, and it seems to be, with all this technology, email and blah, 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 we've forgotten how easy it is to stick a card in the mail. And what it's like to open up the mailbox and not see junk mail. To have something open up that was actually addressed to you. And I can't remember how, it's been quite a while since I first bought Hallmark card maker software for my computer. And you get a little heavier card stock, and they now have envelopes that are specifically sized for 8.5 by 11 folded over as a card. And it's really easy to personalize cards. Now, do they come out beautiful, shiny like the $7 or $12 ones that you could buy at, I don't think, are there Hallmark card stores anymore? Or are they
I
relegated?
believe they're few and far between.
They are few and far between. It's you have to go to like Walmart or CVS or something like that. But I'm just throwing these out there, and with online stores like Snapfish and all the above, it's really easy now to put out cards. In fact, I just happen to have one of ours from last year. Doo-doo-doo. You can get them printed on the back, and we learned that this wasn't the easiest to read. Learning curve. The other part about happier holidays is right in line with pre-planning. And my wife would think this is completely ironic that I'm on here constantly talking about pre-planning stuff, because I am not a planner. I am a fly by the seat of, I've been that way for a long time. Right, Mom? Yeah. Even Mom's out there laughing, going, yeah. But I have started with the pre-planning for events for the year to ensure that I don't have the same year over and over and over and try and call it a lifetime. And we can do the same thing with the pre-planning for the holidays. If you know somebody, again, that is single or something like that, reach out to them as well. See what they have planned and see if you can include them in something. I had a little event at Home Depot this last weekend. I know some of you are shocked. Home Depot, oh my goodness. Yes, I used to live there. Now I still stop in every now and then to make sure that everything's where it's supposed to be. But I had a young lady roll up next to me in her car to ask me for money and offered to sell me a little plastic flower. And I don't know if I just got a little calloused living out in San Diego for 15 years, watching people beg for money. And I started asking her, what do you do? What's going on? What do you want to use the money for? And found out that she wanted the money so she could buy her children Christmas gifts. And I said, okay, so what gifts are you getting them? Like it's my business, but she's asking for money. And she wanted to get her son Special Ops 6 video game. And after that, I forgot the other two, and I'm like, wow, you're out here begging for cash from strangers so you can buy your kid Special Ops 6 video game. And if you guys aren't familiar with it, it's a military style shooting game. And if I remember right, her son was 10. And I suggested that instead of gifts that the kids are going to be bored with in 3 weeks or 4 weeks, that she give them experiences, teach them something, offer to help at a homeless shelter, or go, something like that, volunteer at a food bank or something for Christmas, so that the kids can see kids that don't even have a video game to put a game in. That wasn't exactly the answer she was looking for. She was nice enough, but moved on. And I felt bad for a couple of seconds, but I got over it, because living in San Diego and watching people that were begging for money, and you offer them food and they didn't want food. They wanted money. You ask them what kind of work they could do. They didn't want a job, they want cash. And at least one guy was honest enough. He goes, dude, I got food. You all give us food. I don't want your damn food. I want some money, because I want to go get some alcohol. And I don't want to work. All right. Blessings on you, but yeah, I'm not here to support your habit. I think also during the holidays, we tend to get sucked into those things more. And I'm not against it, because there are a number of people that get the good feeling out of it. They get the good feeling that they've helped somebody else. And I'm not saying don't do that, but if you're going to do that, there are so many other places that could use the help as well. The pet, what do you call them?
Pet shelters?
Pet shelters, yes, can always use some help. If nothing else, just to come down there. Now be careful, because if you're a pet lover, we all know pet shelters are a dangerous, dangerous place.
Kryptonite.
Yes. But I also know that there are, my mother worked in assisted living for quite a while. And you could simply drop off some very simple cards or wrapped gifts to Anonymous for residents who don't have family, or who have family but have kind of conveniently not shown up in a while. We'll leave it at that. I'm just trying to spread ideas to help as many people have a better holiday. I'm open to anybody else got any ahas, inputs, ideas?
I love that you pointed out about cards. I actually put in the chat fun blank greeting cards that I like to get from Amazon, just because I totally agree. Opening the mailbox and having something other than, for the longest time, it was election material. So I'm very glad that the election is over.
Right.
But I agree, having something nice to open up and, just a nice way to say thinking of you. And there are actually a number of things on Amazon, which I know I'm going a little off topic, but you can get like little inserts that motivational inserts or little quotes that you can actually put in cards, or they're even smaller. And I'm talking like 3 inches. And you can send those also. So they're always something fun that you can do.
Yeah.
Very much so.
Mark.
Yeah, I know that, we do a lot around the holidays, at the lodge or, but even the local post office usually has a, like a Christmas tree and, you or, a family that doesn't have anything, you can buy a gift that follow the suggestion. People put the suggestion on the Christmas tree and somebody takes it, buys the toy for the kid, drops it off at the post office. So you're the anonymous Santa, but yeah, if you get it, what it, be able to bring a little joy into a a child's Christmas.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it?
Holly.
Just something that kind of popped in my head when you were talking about the person who said, I have plenty of food. And granted, sometimes it's they want alcohol, but I've been watching some people who, really are on the edge and they don't have much. And the thing that a lot of them been giving each other are things like, let me play with your kids for an hour while you sleep. And, just little things like it doesn't necessarily have to cost money. Both people get, so what I'm seeing is a lot of people who have different needs. So like one person wasn't able to have kids, this example, wasn't able to have kids and wants to spend time with kids. The other person is a new parent and hasn't been able to sleep in forever. And so they're able to, swap each other out. One person gets to spend time with kids and have that amazing experience. The other person actually gets to sleep for an hour. The other thing he did is while he was asleep, he cleaned part of his house for him, which was, a special extra thing. Like, it's just funny how food is the first place people go to when helping out, or they go to expensive video games, whatever, when they're thinking of giving gifts. But, those acts of service, I know we're getting back to love languages now, but we were talking about those earlier. But,
No.
meeting somebody's love language, acts of service, words of affirmation, those can be a lot more meaningful than that $1,000 that you spend on a video gaming system, or who knows what they even cost. But and sometimes that extra hour of sleep can mean a million times more than more food on the table for someone who's on the edge financially too.
100%. And I love that you brought that up, because there are so many different ways. Like if you have a special talent or stuff like that, you can even make your own little gift certificate. And if you know that you've got a neighbor that has trouble trimming the plants in their yard, give them a certificate for half an hour of help trimming roses or trimming the sidewalk. Slip it on, it just, there's so many different little things that we can do if we take the time to think about it. But we all seem to be so caught up in our busyness.
Busyness is definitely a badge of honor. You know, like, and I don't know what it's like out where you all live, but definitely in the Northeast, the busier you are, the more you are hyped up on caffeine, trying to cram 40 hours in a 24-hour day and just going nonstop. It is that people talk about it like a badge of honor, and it's such a shame because it really has to. It's ironic that I chose that word. Um, you really have to focus in to come into the present and then to sit still and be present and sit down, and whether it's sitting with a significant other or whether you're having a meal or something, and not be going to the next thing or not be waiting to go to the next thing. We literally all have to relearn how to come back, to slow down, to be present. And the reason I said it was ironic that it's a shame is because I've gone back and forth over the years with, if I wasn't busy, it meant that I was lazy. So I would find things to do to ensure that the world would never think that I'm lazy and that I would just keep going and going like the Energized Bunny. Not a good coping mechanism. I do not recommend it.
Yes. Even right down to enjoying a meal. One of the things that I'm so grateful for going the year that I spent in Europe was their philosophy around food. They think we are out of our gourds with all of our drive-through fast food, eat on the go, da 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 da. They're like, sit your butt down and eat. And don't shove it in your face so fast you don't taste it, and have a conversation. I mean, a bunch of the little restaurants around there, that is a gathering place, and they know when people don't show up. And when people don't show up, one time might be okay, but if they don't show up 2 days in a row, somebody's over checking on them. Where you been? What you doing? And I was just as guilty, and I've been on and off as guilt, just like you said. I've felt guilty if I don't have 8 things going on at a time. And then we wonder why we're also one of the sickest nations on the planet. Body keeps the score. So I'm glad you brought that up, because same with the holidays. The holidays, ironically, are the times when people are the most sick. And of course, it's, people like, oh, it's the weather. No, we've proven cold weather doesn't make people sick. Go ahead, Mark.
I was going to say, the nod to Lenora, the average, 200 pounds of sugar that will consume around the holidays might be the reason why people are getting sick.
Yeah, absolutely. The highest intake of sugar for the whole year is done in how many weeks, Lenora?
The highest intake of sugar in less than, oh my gosh, I don't even know, but super fast. I was actually just putting in another badge of honor is being so busy going to these parties and consuming so much food, and then even as the host, of which, oh dear heavens, I've definitely been guilty of having too much food, but also it's there's an abundance, and then there's a different level where it's no longer a beautiful thing, or it's no longer a wonderful thing. Now it's a wasteful thing.
Yeah. And again, back to food that your body's not used to, AKA especially the sugar and the sweets and butter. And butter's not a bad thing. Sugar isn't great, but it again isn't as bad as when you take a 5-week period and increase your sugar intake by, oh my, what? And now it's getting to be even more processed food and stuff like that. And less sunlight, especially with the daylight saving scam going on, where you don't get, if you work 9 to 5, you don't see the sun for how long? And people are like, but it's cold out. But you need the sunlight. Even if it's just on your face or your hands or something, the fresh air. You need to be outside during that time. We're all, and the houses are locked up tight. If you got kids, forget about it. The kids go to the petri dish every day and then bring it home. And so I want people to pay attention to what's going on in your surroundings more than you ever have, I guess is the biggest message here. Watch those around you, even the ones that you don't normally keep an eye on. Smile as much as you can to as many people as possible, because just a smile may be the difference for the day. Let people know that they matter, that you see them. I just yesterday got to finally thank a worker in one of the restaurants I've gone to a couple of times, because one day even I was having a less than spectacular day. And I hadn't been back to that restaurant for, I think it'd been 2-3 weeks. And the manager, when I came in, was at the register and said, "Wow, haven't seen you for a while. Where you been?" And it hit me just right that, wow, out of all the people, and I haven't been going to this restaurant very long, you noticed that I hadn't been here for a couple of weeks. And that was all I needed. I felt seen again. And so I finally told them yesterday. And they were thankful to hear the story, because sometimes you don't realize that you've made somebody's day by a simple gesture, a smile, a hello, a how you been, I haven't seen you for a while. So let's work for happier holidays. We got 2 left before the long stretch. And we're going to be talking about this more in February and March, because that's where that long, are we there yet? Are we there? We're trying to get out of winter. The holidays are over. People who have had to go through the holidays without a spouse or a significant other or a family member or something like that, people think of them during the holidays. And then January, February, March, everybody's caught up in the bills from the holidays, the bills from the extra heating for the house, all the above. So let's try to pre-plan for that as well. For my clients with their day planners, I've been trying to remember to point that out for them as well. Put in your day planner in January, mid-January, towards the end of January, February, March, to reach out to people who could use a simple reach out, so you don't forget. Any other comments on that before we switch? Cool. On to 1% you. Anybody want to take a guess at what this might be?
I got nothing.
Yeah, you do. You got 1%.
I got a big question mark. The rest of me, 99%.
Well, as you guys, those of you that have been around Planet Triple T for a while, you know that I get a lot of my subject matter from working with my clients, and this one is no different. 1% you refers to, we're going to call it that needy inner child. That one little squeaky wheel. The one that sometimes is really easy to identify and really easy to understand why they make you do what you do when you do what you do. Dooby-dooby-doo. And then there's the one that hides in the corner, in the shadow, but whispers to the rest of them and causes just as much chaos silently. And they are often the hardest ones to find, the hardest ones to change, and the hardest ones to keep away. And yet, they're 1% of you, sometimes even less. One of my clients was dealing with this, and it kept showing up in relationships. They're going through the Triple P protocol, and they noticed that when potential partners, I guess we're going to just say triggered them, it set them back so quickly and so easily that it became pretty prominent that it was something that we had to find the solution to. And it turned out they were trying still to change their parent, even though their parent has already passed away like 10 years ago. But the anchors and the programming that was put on their hard drive by this parent was still so prominent that even with all of the self-work they've done on themselves and the work that we'd done together, this one little thing hidden deep, deep in the background still had enough power and energy to drain them just like that. And it wasn't until we identified what it was and realized that they were still, to this day, finding partners who had 1% of their parent in them. And they were still trying to change their parent. Any questions on this so far? Ahas, epiphanies, clear as mud. Holly.
I guess I got some ahas, epiphanies. One thing that I've been working on, and I'm still a work in progress on this, but is the idea of, you talked about those parts that hide, and I'm trying to work with all the different parts of me is, why does it need to hide? What part of me is shaming it that it can't come out and have? And one of the things I've been thinking about a lot lately is, that we have needs as human beings. And I think there's a part of us that take the messages we're growing up as we get socialized that we're not supposed to have needs. And the message we're really supposed to be taking is, it's okay to have needs, but if you, negotiate with other people, play nice with other people, respect other people, help them get their needs met, your needs can still be met too.
Yes.
You don't need to fight for them in the moment. You don't need to be selfish to get your needs met. And so anyway, I've kind of got this deal I try to make with my subconscious mind, and I'm still building trust because of years of shaming, whatever, of, hey, if there's any part of me that has a legitimate need, go ahead and put it on the table. I'm not going to judge you. Let's discuss this need. Let's see if it's a real need. Let's see if there's a better way to get it met. But then if I can commit to say, yes, I'm going to keep you safe. Yes, I'm going to give you, significance, or, whatever it is, that maybe when you were younger, you had an experience where you didn't get it, and so you got to make up for whatever. The key is, like I said, I think this is only step one, but step one is creating an environment and building trust with yourself enough that you can say, I am allowed to bring, that part doesn't hide. And if it will come out and talk, I will honor it, I will give it protection, and I will give it a better way to meet its need, is the deal I try to make with that part of me.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. Mark.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep. Can hear you now.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I was one time, like I said, I lost my cool, my daughter, and realized that, my father, who had passed, he was still inside of me because of his violent nature, and it alarmed me that that programming was still in there and had been hiding, amongst the 1%, and but it very much alarmed me. It took me a while to calm down afterwards, but when I realized that, yeah, that was him, and yeah, he'd been hiding for all those years.
Yeah. And it can be anything. We've been talking about parent because there's such a big imprint on us. But I've also had clients where it was something that was done to them or said to them, and when it finally came out, when we finally brought it out, they're like, "Oh, I thought I was over that." And they didn't realize that it was running that long in the shadows. And I kind of tied that in with the happier holidays, is a number of people go into depression during the holidays, and they can't really tell you why. They just know they hate the holidays. I hate the holidays. Scrooge, bah humbug, rah, rah, rah. Without realizing that it could be that little 1% or even less that was hiding in the shadows, whispering to the rest. And so it's another time to pay more attention to reactions and feelings and outlooks. I've got a client right now that I've been working with that, with the 3 journal protocol and the day planner, they very recently told me things are shifting big time. They're no longer waking up with the negative anxiety of the day. And so there are many different ways of working with this stuff, with allowing all of your inner self to know that you're okay. You've made it this far. You've survived everything from your past. And so, like, my one client now knows that they don't have to search for their parent in a potential partner. In fact, that's one of their testing critiques now. Now they know what that is in a person, and they can look specifically for that feature. And one could argue, well, if you've got it healed, why do you have to worry about it? If it caused you that much anguish, why do you have to put up with it? There are enough people on the planet. You don't have to put up with something even as small as 1% if it brings out that less than positive 1% in you. Any other ahas, epiphanies, questions on that topic? Yes, no, maybe so. All right. Looks like we're going to get all 3 in tonight. And this last one, from a jack to a king. Well, anyhow, I digress. Ties right in with this. Especially with the client that was dealing with the 1% with the parent. What they found out, and I'll preface this for those of you that have not been around Planet TJ for a while. When I'm working with people, with clients for the Triple P protocol, I point out to them, just like in a deck of cards, how many kings are in a deck of cards? 4. How many queens are in a deck of cards? 4. How many 5s in a deck of cards? 4. Yes, there are 4 of... Actually, you would be surprised at how many people, when I ask that question, are very unsure of the answer. They're like, 4? And how many 5s? 4? Yes, there are 4 of everything except for jokers. The problem that we have is so many people are looking for their king or their queen that they will desperately try to turn a different card into a queen, and they will invest immense amounts of time and energy into trying to make that happen. And my client that was noticing that just now realized that they were trying to fix their parent through this person that they knew wasn't for them, and they were still investing all the time and energy. And what I would say, is this your person? No. Then why are you trying so hard? And it came out, finally, they were trying to fix their parent. They were trying to turn a jack into a king. In fact, the person they were working on, I said, I don't think they're even a jack. I'm thinking more like a 7. And they agreed. When they finally were able to step back and understand what that connection was, that tie was, that drive was to try and make it work, they were like, I'm not even attracted to them. I don't even find them physically attractive. And yet they have been going through an absolute roller coaster from hell for the last 4 weeks and couldn't figure out why they couldn't just walk away. And so they finally unlocked the code and figured it out. And I think we have to do not only for partners, as in husband or wife, but I think it's important for us to learn how to do it for people in our tribe as well. And I'm not saying that in your tribe there's not room for a 5. There is. But it's a different tribe. If you're trying to build a tribe that's going to lift you up, allow you to become more than who you are, if you're trying to build a relationship that is going to be hopefully the last one, the one that lasts, the one that makes you want to be a better person than you've ever been, if you want to build yourself up to be accepted into tribes that you never thought you were able to, you have to be able to discern who is the person behind all the masks. Are they a king? Are they a jack? Are they a 6? Are they a 2? Now, personally, I don't think you need to hang around with anything under a 5. I'd even push you to say, try and keep your tribe and your people and all that stuff. Family, that's another thing. Every family's got a 2 or 3 or a 4 somewhere. But that is what it is. But if they're not family, why are you hanging out with anything less than a 7? Why are you investing your precious energy, your precious time? And if it is indeed a partner, a husband, a wife, why would you want to settle for anything less than a king or a queen? Every deck has 4 of them. And the easiest way to find them, flip them cards as fast as you can. And when they show you that they're a 6, they're a 6. They may be somebody else's king or queen, but for you, they are a 6. It's not your responsibility to go in and be their cheerleader, their repair person, their therapist, their whatever, to try and get them to move from a 6 to a queen or king. The only person that you should be investing that much energy into becoming a king or queen, you. And every day, try to figure out how to be a better king or queen than you were yesterday. Work on your journal for your tribe. Who can you surround yourself with that will challenge you? I heard a great quote that said, if you hang around with 5 broke people, you're the 6th. If you hang around 5 negative people, you'll be the 6th. If you hang around 5 positive people, you'll be the 6th. If you hang around 5 rich people, eventually you'll be the 6th. You are the sum of the 5 people you hang out with the most. And a really good tribe can lift you up from a jack to a king or a queen. A good coach can help you find the 1% inside that is holding you back from that happening. And when you get to that point, chances are you'll have happier holidays. And that brings us up to the top of the hour. So, anybody have any questions, ahas, epiphanies before we shift gears? Yes, no, maybe so.
I
Still
like how you
processing.
closed the loop when you said shifting into holidays.
What?
You closed the loop when you said shifting to the holidays. So I like how you closed the loop.
Thanks. Getting more practice in. And somewhere out there in YouTube land and on the recording, people are like, close the loop? Yes, reach out to any of us and we'll explain to you what closing loops are. But enough about that. It is time for hour number 2 for Triple T, number 154. And for those of you that fast forwarded or joined us late, the way this works is now anybody on the call gets to ask questions, bring up topics, and anybody on the call answers those questions or topics first, because I like to learn. And if there's anything that I feel I can add to those answers, that's when I will offer up my 2 centavos. So we'll see how this goes this week. How many seconds before somebody can give me a question or a topic to start off hour number 2 and go? Mark. Oh, that was good. 5 seconds. Right on.
Must be a record. Without being a polite chipmunk, you were talking earlier about, without being, yeah, you were talking
The
earlier
polite
about
chipmunk.
the love languages that people have, and expressive and receptive. Your partner's love language can be different. And a while ago, when I was learning that concept, another paradigm merged with it. In England, they do a lot of bird watching, and they listen to the songs of various birds, but they've found that birds in different areas of England, they might be the same species, they seem to talk with a different dialect, that their song is just a little bit different. And it led me to think, gee, I wonder if, even if you and your partner are, talking the same love language, are you talking in the same dialect? There could be subtle differences in your love language that the other person might not understand. So, that's my question. Could there be different dialects within the love language?
Great question. Who's got an answer for Mark? Holly.
Love this question. I will say, now I'll get specific with love languages, but my first answer is absolutely yes, for sure. Well, the first thing that kept coming to my mind when you were talking about that, I don't know if you've read uh, let's see, is it That's Not What I Meant, or You Just Don't Understand, by Deborah Tannen. Anyway, she talks about the difference between direct communicators and indirect communicators.
Mm-hmm.
And she tells a story about, because I think she's a direct communicator and her husband's an indirect communicator. And so they ended up going to a party that neither of them wanted to go to because the other person thought the other person wanted to go because they weren't speaking the same language as each other. But I was just thinking, even just that one thing, you could have a person who has words of affirmation who's a direct communicator. You could have, and I mean, if you go through NLP, all the different, things in there, that you could have somebody who's a kinesthetic words of affirmation, or, more of a visual, words of affirmation, versus someone who is sorts by difference, or who sorts by similarities. So I think the opportunities there are endless. But I think all of those are going to be, physical touch is your thing. Maybe there's specific ways you like to be touched, or places you like to be touched. I love this question. I love that thought. I'm definitely gonna think a lot about it. But yeah, my gut instincts is absolutely spot on. Yes.
Great answer. Who else has an answer for Mark? All right. Oh, Lenora.
I would definitely think that there are different dialects. I totally agree with Holly. While I did not study about direct or indirect, even thinking about, one of the favorite phrases around here is nothing means anything until you give it a label. So when you're saying, yeah, everything's fine, and somebody has a totally neutral response to the word fine, but somebody else, like me, I don't care for the word fine. And when somebody uses it with me, I'm like, well, why just fine? What happened to good? What happened to great? What happened to amazing? Why are we at fine? And they're like, but I'm just fine. So definitely different dialects, especially because words can carry so much charge depending on how they were used, when they were used, and where they were used, and who they were with. And also, a little fun fact is you go in and out of memories anywhere from 15 to 50 times an hour. So, as somebody is talking, that's why the word can be charged differently to somebody else. Somebody else might have a bad relationship with that word, while somebody else has a totally fine relationship with that word. So, just some insights. But I love the question, Mark. I thought that was great.
Great answer. Thanks for sharing with the Holly.
I know I've already gone, but just another thought that came to my mind too is I think the same person can have different dialects depending on the state they're in and time of life they're in too. Yeah, I was just thinking about like physical touch, for example. Maybe one day, I'm thinking Temple Grandin, how she built that squeeze machine. maybe one day you just really want to be squeezed, and another day you just want to be touched lightly, for example, depending on the state you're in, the time of life you're in, etc.
Well
That's a great
said,
answer.
Holly.
Well, y'all ready for Planet TJ? Love language dialects. Perfect example that popped in my head. Beverly Hillbillies. Who remembers the show? Talk about love language dialects. When you get the difference between the Hollywood elites and our beloved Beverly Hillbillies, why, she cuter than mud flaps on a Mack truck. Wait, what? And I think it's a great way of looking at it. And for those of you that are, didn't catch it earlier, this topic was brought up because there was a talk by Vin Gyang, and he talked about one of the biggest mistakes that we make as human beings dealing with humans in their natural environment. We know our love languages, and that is typically how we speak to other people, how we communicate with other people, because that is what we are most familiar with. But very few of us, me included, forget to take the time to find out. And he goes, you can just ask. We don't take the time to ask people, what are your love languages? And a lot of people don't see different ways that you can, like Lenora was kind enough to bring them up and type them into the chat. The 5 types of love languages are words of affirmation, expressing appreciation through kind words; quality time, spending dedicated, focused time together; physical touch, showing affection through physical contacts like hugs and kisses; acts of service, doing helpful tasks for someone; and receiving gifts, giving thoughtful presents as a sign of love. And one of the things that he pointed out was, well, what if your love language is physical touch? Or if one of your love languages isn't physical touch? What if you were raised and you're just like, you're not one of them touchy-feely people. You're like, "Ugh." But you find out that the person you're dealing with, their love language is physical touch. For some people, that means they just would like a handshake when you meet them, when you greet them, or a fist bump or something. That's their love language, to reach, bump, handshake. That doesn't mean that you have to get out of your comfort zone and give them a hug or grab their butt. No. But there are ways of finding out how to speak other people's love languages and still maintain yours. Does that make sense? Lenore. Mike.
I'm over here messaging Holly. Apparently, there's self-love love languages. I had no idea. And I'm
Would
trying
you-
to figure out how do I get them in the chat so you can all see them.
I was going to say, would you mind sharing what you found?
I don't know if this is I mean, they're based off of Gary Chapman's work. So for anybody who is wondering who the author is, Five Love Languages is written by Gary Chapman, and he has a couple of books out. The first is Physical Touch, things that make your body feel good and focus on your physical well-being, such as massages, spa days, soft blankets, moving your body, skincare. Acts of service is doing things for yourself that make life easier and more structured, including therapy, cleaning, delegating, organizing, scheduling, planners. Receiving gifts, buying gifts for yourself, and spending money on things that bring you joy. Going out, vacations, crafts, supplies, makeup, clothes, investing in yourself. Words of affirmation, giving yourself a pep talk and encouraging words by being your biggest cheerleader. Things like positive self-talk, daily affirmations, journaling, and self-improvement. Thank you, Holly, for putting that in the chat. I was trying to figure out how to do that. And quality time, spending time alone, time with your hobbies and doing what you love, including meditation, reading, hobbies, art, and taking yourself on dates.
I am so glad you shared that here. Especially here in the good old US of A, because we had mentioned earlier about our deep, what are we going to call it? Affliction of busyness and being called selfish and all the above. And when you look at that list now, how important is it to understand ways of self-love, especially in our love language? I mean, I did massage therapy for a while, and it's amazing the thought processes that people have between the extremes of, some people, oh, it's just a waste of time. It's just and I'm like, well, then it's not your love language, obviously, right? And then you got people that even a bad massage is enjoyable to them. And don't get me wrong, when I was going through taking classes for massage, yes, I've had some bad massages. But if physical touch is one of your love languages, you'll put up with it way more than somebody else will. So for those of you that are out there and you can't see the chat, or if you're watching the recording, I would highly recommend that you go online and do a printout of both the 5 love languages for others and a printout of the self-care 5 love languages for yourself, so that you can get a little better idea of how to deal with A, humans in their natural environment, and B, loving yourself more. Mark.
I was just thinking about, you're talking about physical touch and how it can, it somehow my brain tied it to what Lenora said earlier. And, because maybe physical touch, like I said, if it's a good massage, those memories, those good memories that are stored, or, maybe getting a massage, your mind starts to drift, but maybe those memories are being triggered basically when you get, if you enjoy a massage, maybe good memories pop up, that you've been storing basically. It's brand new, so I'm fumbling around with it. But yeah, like physical touch as a love language, like I said, getting a massage, maybe it can trigger a whole bunch of good memories of and if that's the location they're stored, the shoulders, the back, the neck, that's maybe that getting and if that's your love language, or even if it's not, that can those memories get triggered. No, it's brand new. I'm just still tossing it around.
No, good stuff. Mike.
Hey, I am very kinesthetic. I store a lot of emotions, memories, all that other stuff in my body. And a good massage, especially a good deep one, will really release those tensions
Yep.
and make everything else move and flow much easier. So just figured I'd throw that out.
And I'm glad you brought that up, especially with for the health benefits. If your love language is physical touch, massages will do amazing things for your body. And I've had people that have started crying getting a massage. And I tell you what, as a massage therapist, the first time you're like, oh, is that bad? No, it's just releasing of energy and emotions that were stored in their body. And they don't have a clue why they're crying. And it's not because it hurts. It just came out. Mark.
Could that be a form of abreaction?
Total abreaction, 100%. And that's also when you think of EFT or EMFT, whichever one you want to call it, that can be much more effective, I would believe, for a person whose love language is physical touch. And so for those of you that may have tried EFT or tapping and didn't quite get a response or something out of it, you may want to analyze what are your 5 love languages. Maybe if you're more into acts of service or receiving gifts or quality time, maybe tapping isn't your thing. But you may find that if you reframe the way you look at it and think of it, if your 5 love languages is receiving gifts, and you reframe the tapping into giving your body a gift each time you tap it, you may get some better response out of it. That just squirrel dropped it off. So, Holly.
Something you were just saying made me wonder this too. These are the 5 love languages, but are they also possibly the 5 healing languages?
Great reframe. Yeah, that's another amazing way to look at it. And so maybe as a little form of homework, this week we can pick a couple of 2, 3, 4 people and actually research what are their 5 love languages. And figure out a way that you can talk to them, interact with them in that language. Great topic, Mark. Anybody else got anything they want to add to that, or is it time for me to start the stopwatch again to see how long it takes for another question? Okay. Who's got another question or topic? Come on, kids. 10 seconds.
I think Lenora just posted something.
What are some ways people like to play with different identities or practice trying on different masks in a safe way? Great question. Who's got an answer for Lenora? Holly.
This is kind of a weird one, but I actually have found a lot of fun putting on, rather than like identities necessarily, concepts. So like non-human things. So I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, saying, oh yeah, I'm gonna DTI, Marilyn Monroe and get her sexiness is totally fine. There's nothing wrong with having a person who embodies it. But just playing around with, I'm gonna embody my gratitude energy. What does that look like? How do I breathe when I'm in my gratitude energy? And so I have this weird thing that I do that I actually like imagine, what if gratitude were a person? What would that person act like? So I actually bring up an avatar of the person who is gratitude, or the person who is, true power, or the person who is love, unconditional love. And then I'll actually like step inside them and do a whole DTI on them. So, and I could do that on my own, or I haven't done it as much in public. I need to start doing that more. I'm realizing as I start thinking about this. I try to be that safe thing. I hide in my house when I'm doing it a lot.
Awesome. Mark.
Yeah, great question. I think playing with different identities or masks, we can embody the qualities of that avatar, and Dr. David likes to do Captain Jack Sparrow, and when we like the mask or an identity to step into, that avatar comes with certain qualities, traits, things that character projects, and yeah, world just dropped off whole end of Kill Bill 3, where David Carradine's talking about Superman's perception, mask he wears when he up in the morning, and his perception of reality, the mask he has to wear, and how it says what his opinion of people are. They're weak, they're tentative, they're not very brave, but it's again, but masks and identities, they said, they protect us. We step into a particular thing, and then hopefully bring back some of those qualities with when we step out of that identity. But it is a place to stay safe. Like people like to dress up at Halloween, and to play pretend. And that's always, most times that's a very healthy thing.
Great answer. In fact, you stole part of my answer. Beat me to it. And want to welcome Mo on the scene. Mo, the question that we're dealing with right now are, what are some ways people like to play with different identities or practice trying on different masks in a safe way? And I, of course, was waiting. I was going to say Halloween is definitely one that I think a lot of people associate with. But I don't think that they understand the the capability that they have when they do it, and they don't have to wait or simply just do it on Halloween. In the class I teach, Identity Management University, aka IMU, one of the things that I have my students do is write down a list of different personas or things that they would like to be better at. Who would they like to become? How would they describe that? What would they like more of? What would they like less of? And if there's a particular person that has all those traits, what would you have to add or subtract to basically become that person? And after they do all that homework, what I'll have them do is leave the classroom, turn around 3 times, and they're instructed to come back into the classroom and show us who that person is. Not tell us, show us. And they do it under the guise of course, pretending or acting. And the transformations that I've witnessed are amazing. And what I point out to them is, if you can act it out, you already have that inside of you. You just have to decide to bring it out more. One of the metaphors I use is, if you've got a pantry of different spices and ingredients, and you've always wanted to have chili flakes on your chocolate chip cookie, but oh, you don't dare, no, we don't do that around here. That's crazy talk right there. You don't act like that. It's your recipe. And if you can act it out, you already have the ingredients. You get to decide when you want to do that. Everybody has many, many masks. Multiple masks. And I've argued this with people. They're like, oh no, I'm always the same 100% all the time. No, you're not. No, I guarantee you're not, because I've seen you Friday night at the bar at closing time. I've seen you Sunday morning at church, and I've seen you Tuesday afternoon at the company business meeting, and I've seen you at dinner time with your folks. Those are completely different masks. So if you can make that many masks up, why can't you make another one? Mark.
I was just thinking, can you hear me? Great way to start a session with somebody you have a good rapport with is question, who would you like to pretend to be today? Wouldn't that be a great way to start a session?
Awesome. What a great question. Does anybody else have anything to add? All right, I'm going to
That is a
take
great
that.
question, Mark.
Anybody else have anything else to add to that? Is it time for another question? Is it time for me to start the ticky talk again? By the way, great question, Lenora. So it's time for another great question. Who's got one? The clock is ticking. Holly, what do you got?
Okay, so I've been thinking about this a lot. Reframing rejection.
Okay.
I've been noticing that a lot of times after I get rejected, like the focus is on about, oh, I want them to feel like they made a mistake rejecting me or they're missing out, or, like a lot of times friends will say, oh, it's their loss, sort of thing. And I'm realizing I don't focus on building the new thing. So it's like I focus so much on what I lost or what could have been or whatever, that I'm not focusing on what really could be that's even better and building that life that's even better with somebody who actually wants to be in my life, or putting it in kind of the Jack to King kind of conversation. I'm mourning the loss of the Jack so much that I'm not even looking for the King anymore.
Yep.
So I'm just kind of curious, what tips do all of you use to kind of get out of that focus and shift that focus and let go of the rejection, let go of the fact that somebody wasn't a good match for you, wasn't a good fit, so that you can focus on finding the person who is a good fit and finding the better life?
Great question. Who's got answers? Don't everybody go at once.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, Mo.
What I heard inside of Holly speaking is, and the thing that immediately came to my mind is, do you consider yourself deserving of a king?
Ooh, that hit.
Yep. Great answer.
'Cause you won't mourn a Jack if that's beneath you.
Yep. Great point. Appreciate it, Mo. Mark.
Well, yeah, like I said, my life philosophy is everything that happens is supposed to happen. Otherwise, it wouldn't have happened. So, if a relationship goes south, really it was supposed to, and can't mourn over, can't cry over spilt milk. Yes, mom would say. But when um, you know, um, letting go is about moving forward. So you can't move forward if you can't let go. So, my sister's always saying the only way to go is forward. My thought on it.
Great answer. Thank you, Mark. Who else has got an answer? Lenora.
Holly, I always liked the one where it says rejection is protection. And that it's keeping you out of that space for a reason. And that one always seemed to have resonated with me, especially I know certain things can be very charged. I was trying to figure out, I actually had a question about love languages, and for I think like a whole hot second, I was like, I don't know what mine is. What is mine? And then I realized it was words of affirmation, or words. I'm very, very language sensitive. And that might also resonate with you, especially noticing how you do respond to certain words and then working to reframe them. And yes, the feeling the pain of rejection absolutely is helping you. What is it helping you do? How is it supporting you? We know how it's hurting you. What is it holding you back from? And also, how is it helping you? And then I love that you were working to frame it and then even to trade it in for another thought that might be more effective. So, such as rejection is simply protection.
Great answers. And of course, oh, Mark, go ahead.
Another squirrel.
Squirrel.
Are there some love languages we're attracted to, and are there some love languages that we run from?
Correct. Yes. Great answer. So very much so. Now, Holly, this question, of course, is completely inside of my wheelhouse. I could go on this for about 3 hours, triple P and everything. One of the main things that I've found in dealing with my clientele in relationships, when they lament over the closing of the door, a lot of times it's because they built this beautiful Hallmark movie. And if you're out there and you have no idea what a reference is to a Hallmark movie, that is the and the doves went up, and the beautiful White House with the picket fence, and the 2.4 children, the 4 we're not quite sure about, the 1.75 cars, and you've created this whole amazing movie of where life is going with this relationship. And then somebody turned it into a nightmare or a simple and it's done. And we've all watched those movies where everything's going and all of a sudden, and that's the end and the credits roll. And you're like, what? And especially when you're in it, a lot of times we'll make the mistake of, well, was it something I did, or is there what could I have done different, or all the above, and it goes right back to the subjects of the night with the 1% you and Jack to a king. They close the door, and you're like, but you could have been my king. I mean, like, I had the movie all up and it was perfect, and all you had to do was play the part, and then you left. That's not in the script. It's because they were a 9. Stop trying to turn him into a king. Even after they left, let him be the 9. Adios, 9. Have a great time, 9. Catch you later, 9. There's somebody else's king. Your king has been waiting for you to get rid of that 9 so they can meet you. Sometimes it's okay to let the door shut. Same with jobs. I've been laid off from a couple of jobs, not because of anything I did. Stuff happened. Time for another job. Boom, left turn. And you go on. And there were a couple of them that I got let go of, and actually one of the biggest ones that I got laid off from is part of why I know you guys today. Because I got let go at a horrible time just before the holidays in the wintertime with the economy in the dump. And I ended up in San Diego. So, like they always say, if God, the universe, whatever, shuts the door, stop staring at the door, trying to get it back open. Somewhere over there, there's already 1, 2, or 3 doors that are unlocked. You just got to go over and open one. And I'm going to cut it short because, again, I could go on this for 3 hours. Anybody else got anything else for Miss
I
Holly?
got a question for you on TJ and just what you're speaking.
Yes.
So if a door closes and you're trying to get it unlocked, what is it that, because it's a situation that almost everybody is familiar with, some people more so than others.
Yep.
But what is it inside of us and what is it that drives us to try and unlock the locked door instead of trying other doors that are unlocked? Why do we do that?
The familiarity of A, the door, and B, the preview, the future pacing, shall we call it, the movie that you've created about how it's supposed to go. And very few people go, and in 6 months, that door is going to slam and I'm going to move on. So they don't create the plan B, shall we say. Especially in relationships, and sadly in relationships, it's been proven enough to be true. The person who cares the least is the one in charge. And so when they exit, the person that gets left behind is like, but.
So what would we have to put in place? Because there's a lot of times we're trying to open it and want to go through in the first place, and it's locked. So what would we have to put in place on a regular basis every day in our lives so that when that door closes, we just automatically say how wonderful and start looking for the next door?
I understand it's not always so easy that you just go, oh, well, that door's shut. Well, I'm not even going to go up, and I'm not even going to try and rattle the handle to try and see if it opens again or not. If it was good enough, we don't want to see it closed. I've been in both kinds of relationships. One where it closed and I'm like, ooh, okay, next. And I've been in the ones where it closed and I was like, wow, I got to try and figure out how to save it, revive it, whatever. And at the end of the day, I wasted or invested, or however you want to look at it, a lot of energy and a lot of time that I could have been spending with the next person that I met who was better than the one I left anyway. Mark.
Just the whole universe exploded. I was thinking about Monsters Incorporated and the doors, sometimes you have to get out the door and nail it shut. And other times, you got to put that door in a shredder.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes. And in case any of my exes see this video, this next comment is not about you. But there are a couple of them out there that I still can find on social media that I'm kind of glad it didn't work. Just leave it at that. And some of them I fought hard to try and save. Some not so much. And that's why I have so many clients for relationship stuff. I'm not saying I have all the answers, but I have a really good way of asking questions. And I've been through enough relationships to know a lot of questions to ask. A lot of questions I wish somebody would have asked me back in the day. Lenora. Oh, I wasn't sure if the Holly.
I'm loving this analogy of doors and being locked and looking for other doors that are open. Two things that just popped into my head, for whatever it's worth, metaphors. So first of all, I was thinking of in the early days of playing video games. And I didn't fully understand what was going on. I was a little bit newer to it. I remember playing this game and I didn't understand that when you leveled up, the programmers put the door that you came through in the next level, you couldn't go back because that would ruin the game plan. They hadn't even programmed that area. It doesn't take you where you're supposed to go. And I seriously spent way too much time trying to go backwards on the game where it literally was impossible. It wasn't even a door. It was just, it had been a door coming through it, but now it's not even a door anymore. It's just a programming thing that's meant to corral me in the direction I'm supposed to go. But I think one of the reasons why this is confusing, as I'm thinking about it a little bit, is because sometimes the door really is locked, and it really is that you're supposed to go forward, stop wasting time going this way. But sometimes the best things are behind that closed door that's locked, that the universe just wants to see, are we willing to knock on the door? And sometimes we're working so hard on, forcing the lock open that, we don't even think, let's knock on the door and see if the person on the other side wants to open the door too. And it can be confusing because some of the best things are behind doors that take a little bit, maybe we have to find the key. Maybe it's not really locked. It's just a little bit stuck and we need to push through. I don't know what the answer is, but just like the metaphor is going, like some doors are locked, and they shouldn't be open. Some doors are locked, but we can find the key. Some doors are locked, but we can knock on the door. Some doors are locked, but we can push them open. And the best things are behind those. And knowing when to push and when to give up might not be the easiest. I don't know what the rule is in knowing discerning between them, but I think all of those forms do exist.
Well, and I got to throw one thing in quick before Lenora. Sometimes you go back and you try and open the door and you bang on it enough and the door gets open. It's not the same person because the person that slammed the door shut moved. And you're like, wait a minute, where is so-and-so? Well, they don't live here anymore. Well, where'd they go? I don't know. The place was up for rent when I got here. I moved in and they don't live here anymore. And sometimes that even happens to people ourselves. We'll have exes knocking on the door, coming back, wanting to get back with us, but they want to get back with the old version of us. And you have to recognize that's not who you are anymore. That person doesn't live here anymore. The person you're looking for isn't here. Lenora.
A variety of things came up, and something that I've heard of a number of times is that we meet people who are on the same emotional level as we are. And if we raise our frequency and they don't raise our frequency, and they don't raise their frequency to match, and we're no longer a match, they will quite literally transition to not be a part of our life. And sometimes that could be a good thing, and sometimes that's not a good thing. And that's why I think the doors analogy and metaphor was really, really powerful. And even adding to that, there are times where we don't want to move forward because we're afraid of, whether you want to call it the power or the frequency or what else will come with it. And that's why I put the quote in the chat. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure, because I think that is something that's very true. even tonight, I'm processing through a couple of things, and I find myself writing down things as to why I'm justified in holding on to these thoughts, why I'm justified into holding on to these things that I'm clearly electively choosing to hold on to, and what else they're holding me back from. So if they're hurting you, yes, they're also helping you. And then how can we frame that? So even looking at it as a relationship, if the relationship isn't working or we're not finding something in the relationship, I think going back to, I'm going to close a loop here. Figuring out our love languages can be really, really extraordinary and extraordinarily powerful. And even somebody had pointed out EFT or doing massages was more physical, and I had used to do that, and now I'm much more words. So even our love languages can change over the course of our lifetime. And if something isn't matching, I love that TJ pointed out, find a good coach or find a good therapist or find a good friend, somebody who is pushing you and who is encouraging you to sit with a variety of things. As much as I personally don't like sitting with a variety of less than positive emotions, I do think it is helpful, and as vicious as I can be, I still say thank you to the people who push me into those spaces, because I know ultimately there is ideally light somewhere on the other side of all the shadows. But just know that I'm keeping you in my thoughts, Mo, so I hope that helps.
The other thing that a squirrel just delivered, how do they purify silver? They have to put it under extreme heat and scrape the slag off the top. And when back to the relationship and the closing the door, we don't know who they are supposed to go out and meet, or what they are supposed to experience and learn and grow from. I know plenty of people who had dated somebody, it went sideways, they were done. Both of them went on and went through a couple of relationships that changed them, made them grow, pointed out things they needed to work on. And then those doors got shut, and the universe went, now you two are ready to be together. Had I allowed you to be together earlier, you would have killed each other. If not physically, emotionally, energetically, spiritually. And I had to slam the doors, get the two of you apart from each other so you could work on each other before you got back together. There are so many different alternatives, story endings, all the above. Heck, where I grew up, I know of two couples that when both couples were basically high school sweethearts. And in their 30s, these couples were going to parties together and realized the other spouse was a better match. And ironically, they switched, which of course caused a big uproar throughout the community. And oh my gosh, the couples are still friends. They just realized they had changed. And luckily enough, they had found the person that had changed also. And they were lucky enough to be able to spend so far in fact, I just saw a post on Facebook from one of the couples, they're still together. How ironic is that? And I'm sure back home, there are still people that are still going, oh my gosh, can you believe they did that whole swap? That's really weird. And they're missing the part that you still have two couples that are extremely in love. So to tie it in with the closing of the door, again, stop with the whole 40-year lifetime Hallmark movie about what it could be, could have been, might have been, should have been, and realize you're still the writer, the editor, the lead, all of the supporting of your own film. But if one of the people on stage decides to leave, rewrite the script. Mark.
Well, one of my clients, to tie this up with a bow, he got out of a bad marriage, and he's beautiful, wonderful daughters. And once he was out of that, he reconnected with high school sweetheart on Facebook and found out he had another daughter out. And they got together, and they have been deliriously happy ever since. And no, they but it took good many years or so for them to reconnect, for him to find out that he had another wonderful daughter, and they've become such an amazing couple and blended family. It just took that long to manifest, but he had to get away from a bad situation, find his fairy tale ending. And every week he just keeps telling me how wonderful things are, how wonderful it is to get. And his older, the daughter he found out just had a baby, so now he's a grandfather. He couldn't be any happier, and it took 20 years to manifest. Get to go. And I don't know about doors, but it's a wonderful thing to see as a clinician, is to see that him being so happy and so fulfilled, and
Yes.
and he likes to, he's a performer. He has his own band, and now he can, and she's supportive of his dream to go on tour probably next year, and he's reconnected with her Prince Charming, and that was his queen. He didn't, and it just took enough time, and he had to get into a better place than where he was, and then that happened. These doors open.
Yeah. And I would also think I would like to be able to see how much both of them changed over time from the relationships and the time that passed. Had they stayed together from high school, would they still be together? Exactly. We don't know. We don't know. And that's the joys of life. and relationships and learning and growing and dealing with our own schmutz and our programming and all the above. So I guess in the end, now that we're at the end of hour number 2, the holidays are here. And some people have had doors slammed. Some doors are going to open. ABT, always be testing. Keep track of your masks and who you would like to pretend to be today. Because you can be. You can be anybody you want. Sometimes it takes getting out of your comfort zone. Pay attention to your love languages. Learn and ask what others are. Learn how to speak to other people's love languages, even if it's not yours. Don't waste time trying to change people any more than you have to. Let them be who they are. Somebody's 6 is another person's king. You don't have to settle. You deserve the best of the best. Every one of you. And that little 1% that's in there or more that's causing grief, if you want help with that, reach out to one of us. It's what we do. Like David liked to say, we're that special kind of stupid. We like to help people shovel their schmutz so we can clean up their life so you can all have happier holidays. And once again, I get to say thank you so much for sharing your precious commodity of time. I will always say it's the one thing that I haven't learned how to reproduce yet. As soon as I figure it out, you guys will be the second to know. Until then, take care. Go out and live life as full as possible. Make as many people smile as you can. Know that I love you all. And I will see you back here in 7 beautiful days. Oh, YouTube, love you guys too. Love you, Mom. See you guys.
Good night, all. Happy
Thank you,
holidays.
everyone.
This is a really good one. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.